Hello. Ni howdy, kings, queens, emperors. How you doing? Oh man. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Lots to talk about today. Lots to discuss. Got things happening around the world. Locally and in other countries. Cowboy, thank you for the tier 1 sub. For 7 months. That's a long time, man. Over half a year. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. And we're trying for the YouTube kiddos. We're trying something a little bit different today. We are going to be. I have a goal set. $2 or up counts towards the goal. I just want to see if it inspires people to give me more money. That's really it. We'll see if it works. I've been ignoring some of the features on Twitch and YouTube, and I wanted to experiment a little, engage with them a little more. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. I hope your Tuesday is terrific. I'm pretty much today we're going to be talking about 3 main things, okay? So, I want to talk about the school shooting that happened yesterday. A 15-year-old girl went and just killed some people and then killed herself, and we got to talk about it. I think also watching the reaction to it is telling. We have a problem in America, at least on social media and in the circles that I run in, okay? Political circles, etc., discourse circles. We tend to do this thing, and I find it disgusting, where a tragedy occurs, like what happened at that poor school. And then we wait with bated breath to see who did it, so we know if we can blame our political enemies for it, right? And before any information really comes out, we start trying to figure out, was this person white? Were they trans? Were they black? Were they a woman? Were they a man? Who can we blame for this? How can we use this towards our political ends? And man, people are dead. That's wild to me that we do that. And this isn't new. I want to be clear. Like, this isn't something that just happened this time and it's never happened before. That's absolutely not the case, unfortunately. But I did want to take the opportunity to discuss it a little bit and talk about why it's harmful, why I think it causes us to be less humane, and also it doesn't fix the problem. It misses the point of these things in most cases. It's a way to use death in order to promote someone's own political aims, and we need to stop doing this, right? I know it can be effective. It can. But it's wrong. But we'll get into that. We'll talk about it, okay? The second thing that I want to talk about today is Luigi got charged with terrorism, according to the news. A lot of people are big mad that he got charged with terrorism, but I don't know what to tell you. He engaged in terrorism, at least by the layman's terms. Keep in mind, I'm not sure the legal definition. I don't know if legally it'll stick. I have no idea. But simply by kind of like the plain reading of what terrorism is, yeah, he engaged in terrorism. He killed someone with the aim of inspiring terror in a group of people he did not like. I don't know, seems textbook to me, but a lot of people are big mad. A lot of people are claiming that this is a way to shut down all discussion about healthcare in America and to intimidate the populace into sitting down and shutting up. and we're gonna read some of that. That's wild to me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Another new account for $5. Thank you for the $5. And our first super chat of the day. We are at 1/20th of our goal. Let's see what we can do. Again, all amounts count for this. Again, at least I tried to make the setting so that all amounts count. But yeah. So $5 from another new account to say, nice to see women making headway in spaces traditionally dominated by white males. Yay, progressivism. I tried to look up her manifesto, because she released one, right? And she released it on Google Drive, okay? She put the link out there, and she forgot to set it off of private. So I couldn't read it. I didn't have access. And so I'm just like, well, I don't know. Like, I've seen people claim that they have the manifesto and they made screenshots of the manifesto. I don't know if that's actually accurate, since I couldn't actually read the linked manifesto myself. We'll go over it. We'll look into it. We'll see if it is. But just keep that in mind that I have no idea if this is an accurate screenshot or not. But I don't know. I know maybe, like, again, it's a tragic thing and it's horrible and things like that. But it's one of those things where, like, look, if you wanted everyone to read why you did the thing you did, you can't set it on private. No one's gonna know. Twisted Nightmare says by federal New York statute. I'm not sure. I'm assuming you're talking about the terrorism charge. I don't know. We'll get into it. We'll look at it and we'll find out. Nice to see everyone, by the way. Roland Stott, how you doing? Do you want the manifesto? Is it the actual manifesto, or is it just like the link to the manifesto? Or to the, like, this is the thing. Send me what you got and we'll see, right? Send me what you got and we'll see. Because I've seen versions of the manifesto. I just don't know if they're actually the manifesto, right? I don't know. But yeah, send me what you got and I'll look it up. Screenshots, if you've seen Slatism's version, then yes, that's it. I don't know if that's the version I saw, but send me what you got, like I said, and we'll go over it and we'll look at it and we'll see why she did what she did. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yes. Kinetic Pause says the manifesto is not great. Do we need to have a class on how to write a manifesto? We've had 2 recent manifestos drop, okay? We've had Luigi's manifesto. It was about a page long, a few paragraphs. It was bad. It was a poorly written, poorly reasoned. And then we have this manifesto, apparently, they didn't know how to set it off of private so people could actually read it. And then when you go through it, it's a little longer. It's about 6 pages. You know what? She's a 15-year-old girl. I'm not going to judge her too harshly on this. I am going to judge her harshly on the killing people part, though, right? That's going to get the majority of my criticism here. But I am going to save a little criticism for the poorly written manifesto here. So maybe we just need a class. Maybe I need to walk you guys through how to do this, how to make a coherent, well-reasoned, interesting manifesto, right? You don't want it to be too long, right? People who put out, like, books as a manifesto, nah, that's not what we want here. But first of all, it's got to be longer than a page. 6 pages might do it if you're concise and you're succinct and you're able to coherently and cogently make your argument. But in this case, it was not. Yeah, I don't know. Parallax, you just got in my manifesto with that question. Okay. If I wrote a manifesto, if I was going to do something horrific, which I'm absolutely not, some of you would be in it as reasons why, okay? I'll make 13 reasons why, and Parallax, you're one of them, okay? I haven't decided which. Liquid Chip says, y'all hear about the grandmother inheritance money? For Luigi? Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. I haven't looked into it. So that's the second thing we're going to talk about today. I'm giving you guys an overview of what we're going to be discussing today, okay? The third thing we're going to be talking about is when Lucy Haze comes on, and we're going to talk about orcs in Dungeons and Dragons. She says they're racist. I disagree. Now, I scheduled this conversation well before any of this happened, but I did schedule the conversation, and I feel like I should honor my scheduling, and so it's a little bit of a topic drift, but yeah. One thing that we can talk about with Lucy, because Lucy's coming back from Ukraine. Okay, Lucy was in Ukraine until recently. She was doing interviews there. One thing that was reported on today that a Russian general was assassinated, and they blame Ukraine for it. I think that I've heard reports that some people in Ukraine are taking credit. I'd have to look at those reports more, but I can talk to her with him and we can find out, right? But that does bring up the question of assassination during wartime. What is acceptable? Why? When should we engage in it, if ever? And who should be our targets? It's worthy of discussion, and we're going to discuss it. So yeah. And if you guys have other things that you want to bring up, right? Feel free. This is your stream as well as mine. But yeah, Less Than Self for $5. Thank you for every day doing this kinds of conversation. You and Destiny were the two people I religiously watched because you both were objective, and now there is one. I hope it's me. I hope you're still watching me. But thank you for the $5. I really appreciate you. Thank you. J-Mac, we're gonna look. I find it silly when people say that orcs are racist. I just don't buy the logic. But I'm more than happy to have the conversation. It's something that I do know a little bit about, and so I got to use my expertise somehow, right, gang? Yeah. I don't know. I also got a little Reese's Pieces I'm going to eat at some point, and I'm excited about that too. Look, it's just an excited day. We're all excited to be here. We're all ready to have these conversations. Let's start the show. Let's open it up with some of the reactions to the Luigi Maglione, or however the fuck you say his last name. I don't know. It's Italian. Let's look at some of the reactions people are having to the charge. Okay, we have friend of the stream, Hassan, right? They're hitting Luigi. Oh, here, let me. I always do that. I should do better at that. Okay, Hassan Abi says they're hitting Luigi with terrorism charges. Oh, brother. As if it's eye rolling. Like, oh, terrorism charges, that's so silly. He only wrote a manifesto telling people why he did this for political reasons and killed a civilian in order to inspire terror in a certain group of people. Oh, brother. Why are people like this? And then we have hot on its heels, Secular Talk, Kyle Kolinsky. This guy's a real piece of shit, by the way. Why does it keep doing this? Okay. Yeah, I don't like this guy at all. I think he's kind of a piece of shit. But this is what he says. Charging Luigi with terrorism is part of a broader plan to infiltrate in circles where people expressed no sympathy for the CEO. Just like that woman getting arrested in Florida for telling Blue Cross that they're next after she had her claim denied. They want to ban anti-corporate organizing under the guise of terroristic threats. They're pulling out all the stops to get you to shut up and accept your corporate overlords and never question gangster capitalists profiting off your misery and death. Or he wrote a manifesto saying that I did this to inspire fear in a group of people. And then he killed a guy. And so they're charging him with terrorism because that's terrorism. One or the other. I mean, it could be both. I don't know. But like this idea that this is this grand conspiracy, that they're out to get you, that this is their way of infiltrating your spaces. Man, no. They already infiltrate your spaces. You're on social media, they know what you're talking about. You're saying it, right? Infiltrate your spaces. What do you mean? Like, are you having secret conversations in secret that you think they don't know about? But like, what does that mean? Infiltrate your spaces, right? And they're not talking about people who expressed no sympathy for the CEO. There's a lot of people who didn't express any sympathies for the CEO, but also didn't celebrate it, that no one cares about, right? Not even me. I'm like, okay. If you don't say anything, that's fair, right? That's fair. Okay, well, people die every day. What bothered me and bothered a lot of people, actually, is the glee, the savage glee that people like Kyle here engaged in when they saw someone who worked in a job that they didn't like get slaughtered, just get killed. Look, they aren't charging that lady, right? And I want to. Do you guys know about this? The woman who made allegedly made a threat, or what was charged as a threat. Her insurance claim got denied, and she told, I guess, the people she was talking to that they were next, right? In regards to the Luigi shooting. And they charged her, and she got put on bail. Her bail was set for like $100,000 or something like that. They're taking it seriously. That's good. They should take these things seriously. I wish they would take more things like this seriously, right? I don't know if what they're going to charge her with, right? I don't know exactly what if she's going to be convicted. I don't know what the sentence will be. Do I think she should be locked up for years? No. She should probably face a fine, something like that. I don't know exactly, right? But I don't know. What do you expect to happen? What do you expect to happen when you're threatening people like that? What happened to the Thought Police Brigade? I don't know. Acreol is sending me something. What is this? Oh, I've heard this. Okay. I've heard of this. You guys want to see something? New York is considering a special hotline just for CEOs to report alleged threats to their safety after Brian Thompson's killing. Social media users slammed Kathy Hochul for floating using taxpayer dollars to fund the potential hotline. What do we think here, gang? Setting up a special hotline just for CEOs if they get a threat. What do we thought? What do we think? Kamikaze coming in with the most predictable answer from him I could ever see. He's saying that's retarded AF. No, fuck that. Oh, that's fair. I don't know. Like, I have mixed feelings on this because I think that people should have equal access. However, I think it's also clear that when you're in a position like that, that you face unequal levels of threat against you. Like the president or a politician, right? They are magnets for these kinds of things. And I wouldn't see it amiss if politicians, for example, had a special hotline that they could call if they were threatened, right? Because threats against such figures are often much more serious. And they get a whole host more of them. And because they're public and because a lot of the times their information of where they work and their routines are also public, having some extra protection doesn't seem to be amiss to me. Am I wrong here? $5 from Lesson Cell says, good intention, stupid idea. CEO has connections that sometimes is better than having a hotline. It seems like an excuse to use fundings. That's fair, right? These people already have private security, right? It makes sense. I guess I would have to hear the reasoning, right? I would have to hear, okay, why do you need what do you not have, right? What do you lack access to? That this would fix. And I don't know what that would be off the top of my head. Yeah, Kamikaze. Is that bad, though? Is it bad that political offices are protected and do have special liaisons? Is that bad? I think that's good. I think they should, right? I'm just not sure if CEOs have that kind of stuff. I'm sure they can afford it. I don't know. It's one of those things where I have to think about it more. I don't have any strong opinions on this either way. Again, off the top of my head, it seems unnecessary, but I could be convinced otherwise, right? I could be convinced otherwise, but no, that's interesting. I do think it does send a signal to the population, right, at large, that they're willing to protect these people who are in danger. There can be some value in that, right? Knowing that this group specifically has a lot of people hating them and getting a lot more threats, and they're in more danger, and so the city, the state signals as a signal and says, you know what, these people are under greater threat than a normal person, so we're going to give them greater protections. That could have value. Kamikaze says it's just pissing us off further. Gang, like you know Kamikaze, like no one, you're like a fifth of the country. 10th. Right? You gonna be mad? What are you gonna do? Probably nothing. Make threats. And so they will respond like this, right? The fact that you are pissed off, right, is why they're doing this. It's because you're angry enough to kill. Not you specifically, but people are angry enough to kill. And if people are angry enough to kill, it justifies, maybe not this specifically, but something. CEOs get access to 911 too, where they get assassination squads to eliminate naysayers. True. It's true. There was another poll recently done that I found interesting on the whole murder thing. So let's look at it. Let's make it a little more readable here. The question was, do you think the actions of the killer of the United Healthcare CEO are acceptable or unacceptable? And it was broken down by age in this one. And I want to look at this because it's fascinating to me. And maybe you guys can give me a reason why this is, because I would think it might be. I have some theories. Let's go through it. Let's see what they say. So, from 18 to 29-year-olds, the youngest bracket, 33% completely unacceptable, 7% somewhat unacceptable, 19% neutral, 24% somewhat acceptable, and 17% completely acceptable. So, bloodthirsty demographic here, the 18 to 29-year-olds. In some ways, it's surprising to me, and others not. So every like the 30 to 39, every other cohort is clearly disapproving. A overwhelming majority disapprove. 40-49, 61% completely unacceptable, 50 to 59. The older you get, the more unacceptable it gets. And there's a slight change after 70. It goes down to only 69% consider it completely unacceptable. It's fascinating to me that the people who are most at risk for health issues, and therefore, at least my intuition says, would have the most struggles with a health insurance, right? Because they deal with it more. They're the ones that hate what Luigi did most. They're the ones that dislike it the most. The people who are most likely to be healthy, most likely not to have health insurance issues, most likely not to have to deal with this kind of thing, they're the ones that are calling for blood. And what are you guys' theories as to why? I'm curious. I mean, I have my theory, but I want to hear yours first. Why are the people who are, again, affected by this the most, or most against Luigi? Leitner Goat says because young people are totally unaware of the consequences of the type of thinking they project. They think it's like defund the police. It will stay away from them. Not your average white guy says they have been radicalized by social media. TexEdgy says that top bracket is the age bracket that accounts for making most violence. Kinetic Paw says it's like Lord of the Flies. Them kids are wild. Interesting. What are my YouTubers saying? What are my little YouTube cohorts saying? Zero Fox says it's because old people touch the most grass in their lives. Ant says dank memes is a new generational thing. Yeah, maybe. Right? I think that like the idea of bloodthirstiness, that problems can be solved by violence, is something that a young person thinks in many cases. And I think as you get older and you see the results of violence and what it actually leads to, you get a little bit wiser in that. And a little more scared of what that means, right? Because you've actually seen violence. You've actually seen all these things go down. And you're like, well, I really don't want that. I may not like health insurance, right? But I don't want that. So it's very interesting, right? I do think that young people are more susceptible to social media propaganda as well. And there's been a huge campaign, right, by some people to make a martyr out of Luigi, right? There is a huge propaganda effort to turn him into this saint, this vengeful Punisher spirit that is doing good. And young people are just really susceptible to that kind of thing. Kids are dumb, frankly. No Cow Mike says, no, there isn't. Yeah, yes, there is. No Cow Mike says, folks in their 20s like they have older family members needing the healthcare for the first time in their lives and having their lives disrupted by corporate greed. Just because it's not happening to you personally doesn't mean you should ignore it. But the people who are older, who are experiencing it, all that, are less likely to like the shooter by large margins. The people who are actually being affected by it, right, who are actually having to bear the consequences of health insurance in this country, right, the good and the bad of it, they're the ones who hate Luigi the most, or find what he did unacceptable, completely unacceptable the most. Young people are just, again, statistically, less likely to have to deal with this. It's just true. I don't know. We'll see. Right. I like I said, I found it interesting, and I found it very telling. I think again, it's this social contagion, right? That's just been spreading that violence is the answer. And I think young people are susceptible to it in a way that older people aren't. Another new account says the older generation grew up with more Christian values, ? Not as supportive of murder. Maybe that could be it, right? It could be more religiosity created that. I'm not sure. I'm speculating. It's guesses, gang. It's guesses. But it again, if we look at the poll, the results, just seems to be true that as soon as you hit up to 40, you suddenly really hate that shooter guy. And 40-year-olds don't get Medicaid or Medicare, right? At least not normally. When do you get that? Like 55, 60, something like that? I don't know. I'm not that old, gang. I'm old, but I'm not that old. 62 and a half, 65? Yeah, okay, 65. Yeah. So again, like maybe that's the reason, is because a lot more are on Medicare or Medicaid, but that doesn't account for the 40 to 49 or 50 to 59 age bracket at all. Fair enough. Intense Complex says, you look that old. How old do I look? I look 55? Maybe. Maybe. Poop Golem 69 says, you're mistaken. Only people railing against Shooter are status quo centrists. Even MSNBC, CNN talking heads were cheerleading him. You must have blinders on. As I said, there is a concerted propaganda effort in order to make this Shooter into some kind of hero. Absolutely. But most people, in every poll we've seen, right, at least so far, don't like this Shooter guy. I don't know what to tell you. That's just facts. That's just the facts. I mean, we could deal, like, this is a problem I have with these ideologues, honestly. No offense to you, Poop Golem, okay? But yeah, like, reality is reality, whether you like it or not, whether your ideology agrees with it or not. It's just true, right? And we have the data, we have the numbers, we can look at it, we can measure it. Now you can claim, well, I think these numbers are wrong, and I'm willing to hear your argument as to why. That's fair. I'm not someone who worships polls, but I have not heard a compelling argument, and the polls tend to track what I see when I talk to people in real life, right? It tends to track. Now, it's also the case that I get out of the house sometimes and I talk to people who aren't online all the time. I talk to a lot of people who don't know what Discord is, who don't know what social media really is. They're like, Twitter, I know what it is, but I never used it, right? A lot of people like that. So maybe I get a different cohort than you guys, but yeah, I don't know. But thank you for your contribution, Poop Golem. I appreciate you coming to my stream, talking. That's what we do here. Okay. I'd have to look at it, Tex Edgy. I don't want to go too deep into this single poll because we do have a lot to talk about today. But yeah, it's something that, let me see if I can find the link to it specifically. Here's the breakdown by party, crosstab. Democrats, Independents, Republicans, and the percentage, right? So the highest percentage is among Democrats that find it completely acceptable. Completely unacceptable, the highest percentage is among Republicans. And that tracks with the other polls too, right? But even in the highest cohort, right? The highest cohort that he has that thinks it's completely acceptable, or either completely or somewhat acceptable, that's still only about 21%, 22%, right? It's still only like a fifth of the country who believes that, right? And that's only Democrats. When you look into independents, it's less, frankly, a lot less. And then it drops down to almost 12% max when you get to Republicans. I mean, yeah, most people, the vast majority, the highest cohort, like the highest one for all of them, for every single demographic, at least that this crosstab is measuring, find it completely unacceptable. The majority has spoken. The majority is clear. Elwa Link says that's still very high. 20% topples entire systems. Do you think this is going to topple the system? I don't. Poop Golem chimes in with, polls aren't reflecting the sentiments in my poverty line writing community, which nearly half the country is. Polls just support the status quo. I just, look, I'm poor. I'm poor like you. Don't worry. No one's giving me money. So I'm poor. Yeah, this doesn't track, even in poor neighborhoods. At least the ones I live in and deal with. Live Laugh Logan says, would the cohort completely acceptable for Dems be as high as if Kamala won? I have no idea. I don't know. Why would it be different? What would your argument for that be? The question is slanted. How so? The question, to be clear, was, do you find the actions of the CEO shooter acceptable, unacceptable, completely unacceptable, somewhat unacceptable, blah, 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 right? Okay. So we've covered the Luigi thing. Unless you guys have further thoughts on that, I'm going to move to the next topic. Let's talk about the school shooter yesterday. You guys see that? It's crazy. Here. So, man, I wish CNN didn't have these big ads here. Hold on, give me a second. Let's read some. So, yesterday at Abundant Life Christian School, there was a shooting. Let me move it over here so you guys can see it a little better. I'm trying to find the exact numbers of injured and dead, but it was quite a few. But it was again, as the police chief says, everyone was targeted in this incident. The person who carried out the shooting went with the intent to do harm, to kill as many as they could, and then they took their own life. Man, this happens too much. This happens too much. They're aware of a document circulating online about the shooting. I've been linked to this document. I've seen this document. I'm not sure if it's the actual document. So again, when we read it, which we will, I want you guys to take that with a grain of salt, that this might just not be a correct document. I don't know. But yeah, this is just insane. I also want to draw attention to a fact here, though, before we get too far into it. The fact that as soon as this happened, people were trying to pin this on, well, look, she was a right-winger. No, she was a left-winger. Oh, she was trans. No, she was trans. Oh, no, she was cis. Oh, in this game that people play, this game, okay, of pigeonhole the shooter into my enemy's ideology or my enemy's identity group, right, is insane. It's insane. The fact that people were transvestigating her, what are you doing? What? Why try to force this narrative? What are you doing? It's disgusting. It really is. It's just as disgusting when people are like, "Oh, is the shooter Muslim? Is the shooter Jewish? Oh, if it's Jewish, we're going to put out a bunch of shit about how, look, you can't trust those Jews. Or if they're Muslim, we're going to put out a bunch of shit about how you can't trust those Islamists, right? Or, look, another white shooter. Oh, look at those whiteys doing white things, right? Like they're the most dangerous group in the country. Rah, 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 rah. It's insane. And we need to stop. We need to stop. Zero Fuck says, I can agree, but I can explain the thinking. Can you explain the thinking to me of why the first thing people would do, and it was literally the first thing they did, was decide to find out whether this person was trans or not? Look, they're an evil piece of shit. Why do this weird transvestigation? Dylan Bowser says, damn whiteys, I don't claim y'all except Wick. Zero Fox says, because the last one they covered up, the manifesto forever, so they suspect this will be hiding things. Sneed McFeed says, Wick, the cop said, we don't know if the suspect is male or female. That's what started it. That's a silly thing to start it. They just didn't know who it was at first, which I imagine they were trying to figure out what went wrong, what happened. There's a bunch of dead bodies, right? And they were probably getting, at least when it first happened, a bunch of conflicting reports, right? As such thing, again, when such things happen, there's always a bunch of noise out there, right? So the fact that they said that, oh, this was we don't know if the suspect is male or female, and that like triggered this weird transvestigation, I think speaks negatively to where a lot of people's heads are at. Cardi says, I feel like it's because media has been doing the identitarian shit when talking about shooters for years, and now conservatives are just doing the same thing despite them. So many people used to be like, white males are school shooters, and yeah, like I said, I feel that primes people to disagree along identitarian lines. Fair enough. I saw someone else. Oh, Roland says, 1, police weren't giving sex or gender of student. Sure, like I said, they were trying to figure it out. 2, Tumblr account linked has they, them pronouns. Females are so much smaller percentage of shooters. They harm in different ways. And 4, adding T to a female makes them more aggressive. But she wasn't trans. She was just some 15-year-old psycho. Folks desperate to rationalize their bigotries. I think it's a lot of that. Like, people are looking for a reason to hate. Like Cardi said earlier, people were looking for a reason to hate white people, to demonize white people. They were looking for it, right? It's super clear. And so they were trying to paint this narrative and use these incidences as a way to bully and to beat over the head and to get people to fall in line with their weird racial bigotries. And I think the same play's happening with the trans shit. They're, again, attempting to try. They're sitting there hoping. They're hoping it's trans. They're hoping the shooter was trans so that they could go along with their narratives. And that's disgusting to me. Same people who sit there hoping that the shooter is white or hoping that the shooter is any identity, really. Democrat, Republican, Muslim, Jewish, white, black, male, female, anything. If you're sitting there and you're sitting there like, oh, gonna rub my hands together and figure out what identity it is, and I hope it's one of the ones that I don't like so I can start talking shit, you're a bad person. I don't know what to tell you. You're a bad person. Solemn Argus, a member for 14 months. Unfortunate yet interesting content indeed. Thank you for being a YouTube member. I appreciate you, sir. Let's read the manifesto. So, this is, again, the alleged manifesto, right? This person, why would you do this? Okay, so this person apparently got a hold of the boyfriend of the shooter, okay? And got access to the report. And they decided to put their watermark, a watermark of their Twitter account onto the manifesto in one of the most cringeworthy attempts at self-promotion I've ever seen. What are you doing? You're branding the manifesto's content? Look, we gotta talk about that too. But otherwise, people would take credit for my journalistic work. Okay, but this seems weird. Oh, no, Cal Mike says, well, it's working because you're covering it. I'm covering it negatively. I'm covering this watermark shit negatively, okay? If I had a non-watermarked copy, I would use that one. I just don't have access to a non-watermarked copy because the shooter decided, well, she didn't decide. She didn't know how to operate tech, which is another reason you know that the shooter wasn't trans. A trans woman would have got that shit right, okay? They're all in tech. They would have gotten it correct, okay? That's how you know they were a cis female, okay? They couldn't operate a computer properly. They were 15, Wick? Well, they were a fucking psychopathic murderer. I'm sorry. If you decide to go on a killing spree, I'm going to make fun of you. Oh, but they were only 15. I don't care. You were old enough to shoot up a school. You're old enough to get this shit, right? Plus, she's dead now, so she can't hear. What's she gonna do? Wag her female like, you were so mean to me. You said mean things about me and made fun of me online. Well, don't shoot up a school. Intense Complex says, who provided the weapon? Well, we're gonna read about it. They mentioned that in the manifesto, actually. Let's talk about it. So I'll read it to you, and we'll go through it, and we'll see what they have to say. So they title their manifesto, first of all, War Against Humanity. And no, it's seriously the title. I don't know. Unfortunately, you can't. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there you go. There you can see. War Against Humanity. The creation of a disaster, and why is it so unfair? Okay, we're going to try to get through this. I don't know. We can. I'm cringing already. Yes, the shooting was the worst part of this. The killing was the worst part of this. But the manifesto and the way it's written is a close second, okay? It's really bad. It's a really bad manifesto. The creation, okay, hatred, something everyone has gotten. In a sense, some people think it's pure nothing, but because of the hate they make, it ends up killing them without knowing it, which go right ahead. I don't mind, but kind of do at the same time. I'm reading it. I'm just reading it, gang. Don't judge me here. You are just simply nothing but scum to this world or to even think about. Nobody should want you or your body in any way. Stark Honor, welcome to the stream again. Stark Honor says, no wonder Democrats always lose when they pay people like Wick TV, who literally just provides a platform for fascists to spew misinformation. Do you want me to read the manifesto or not? Are you curious what it says or not? Sarkana says, I was critiquing your general form. You spelled critiquing wrong. That's not how you spell it. Okay, let me continue to read this before I got distracted. Okay. Again, I don't know if we're going to be able to get through the whole thing. It's really bad. I hate seeing people on a daily basis. Just being so sensitive gives me one more reason to take off my glasses. The human scum is color and the way people are raised. I've grown around people who do not care or give one single care in the world and smoke their lungs out with weed or drink as much as they can, like my own father. As much as they can, like my own father. I've grown to hate people and society. It's truly not my fault, though. It never was. But didn't capitalize this. Should I mark this up? Should I start grading this paper? Okay. It's really bad. But all of you in the world have done to me is pick and tease me. You've pushed me into a corner with no help whatsoever. Humanity is filth, and I don't like filth, nor want to live in it, nor should anyone else. And I know it follows me, and how it has followed me, and will follow everyone because of how the world is run. I'm sorry, gang. I don't know if I could do this. Look. People failed her in her life. That's just true. I don't know how. I don't know the details. But I know the fact that she chose to do what she did is the biggest evidence I have of people in her life just failing her. That said, while she is a child, she's 15 and does deserve some accountability for this. We cannot excuse this. We cannot say, oh, she was just a kid, society failed her. She chose to do this. She didn't have to. No one forced her. This was a choice. And a horrific choice. Evidence of psychopathy. Average Debate Enjoyer says, wait, was this really a girl or are you just using pronouns inaccurately? No, it was really a girl. It was a 15-year-old girl. My parents are scum. Oh no, we're not there yet. There were so many things I wanted to do as a kid, yet I can admit I was afraid of the other kids, and also even with my own parents, but I don't even trust them, and at that age, as well, I didn't, and I never will. My parents are scum. There's nothing that will save them to make me think good of them ever again. No family to ever trust, to never trust society. There is two people, and only two people I will trust, one partially, and one I would never doubt. I can agree that I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but neither did my parents or anyone around me. I have changed and I will not go back to that ever again. I am hardened and I'm different. This situation and the situation of a lifetime is a get the fuck out moment and don't come back. I will never go back and nag my way through life. It's not even my fault though. It's everyone else's. It has to be theirs and not mine. It's pure idiotic from people to cause this, but it's a good thing that this happens. It always is, and there will always be a reason for this and reasons for other shootings unless it's some Indian guy who wanted to blow up just for the fun of it, which is what those people do. I find that a bit funny, not really funny to the point I'd laugh my ass off, but still, maybe you get the point here, or maybe you don't, and think I might be crazy. So she's just fucking straight up racist. I mean, again, not the biggest sin. Not the biggest sin here. But she didn't even racism right. Okay? She didn't even racism right. That's not the caricature. She's mixing up caricatures, okay? Look, on a scale of bad, the murder was the most bad, okay? The writing was second. The racism's a distant third or maybe even fourth after not knowing how to properly spread a manifesto online, okay? That's tied for third and fourth, okay? Crazy shit. Maybe you will see me as a weirdo. Yes. A freak. Yes. Just as some of you do now, but I'm not. I'm not like the others. I would never ever want to be like them with how they think and what they do on a simple day. I hate how the population thinks, grows, and talks, and how they make romance fake. She read Twilight and just didn't like it. If only some days we could do a public execution, that would be gladly needed. I wouldn't mind throwing some stones at idiots or even watching from the far back when they get hanged. Twitter can prove that for a fact, or so I think, and I think a lot more people than some people think I do, or maybe they don't think what I think because most people can't do what I'm going to do. It's dark shit. Death is something most people need to embrace and accept rather than running away from it. Like I said, this is rough. Stark Honor, why are you yelling at me? I'm reading a manifesto. It's not my words. I didn't write it. God, I'm glad I didn't write it because that's super embarrassing. And Tessie Johnson, thank you for the sub. But why do you keep yelling at me? Seriously, Stark Otter, why are you yelling at me right now? I'm going over a manifesto from some murderer kid, okay, a school shooter. I want to see in her words why she did what she did. Rabid Wombat, you're so silly. Don't say that, okay? Look, you don't have to watch my show. It's okay. You don't have to watch. If you don't like what I say, that's fine, right? You're welcome to stay if you'd like. But, I mean, this is what we're doing today. We're reading the manifesto. Let's keep going. Once you know, you'll be proven guilty on all charges and wish to be killed in any good way that is not simple and is more painful than anything, or at least I would hope on that behalf. Revolution and population. The revolution should be well. The population should be well, but it's not and never will be. I want to change that, but will I truly? You won't. Spoiler alert. The population of scum has been worked over the years as it did during the wars and fighting over what should be right and wrong. The sick people will dissolve into dust and be forgotten about. You will ruin the human population and turn into whores of filth and beings that shouldn't live. Whores and scum are things I hate the most and will always hate. You have no meaning. You and your parents should be hanged in front of everyone. Nope. Worse, once you sleep with one, you are one. I don't care who you think you are or what you've been done good for this world of yours. It will never matter because you will always have no thought and no brain to continue with. I hate looking at some of the people in the society and seeing what they are and what they do with their lives. Like, how does one do that? But I know how, out of scum and just pure retardedness. Yes, I did skip a word. I am not saying that word. It is a slur. Dang. The murder is worse, to be clear. This is distant fourth in her sins, but it's still a sin. Yeah, I don't know. I said the N-word once as a child. I've only ever said it once in my life. Well, that's not true. Twice. One, I was talking to my younger nieces and nephews, and one of them said the word, or said the N-word and asked me what that was, and I explained it. Educational purposes. Okay? The second time, or the first time I used it, because I was much younger, I was in 5th grade, and our teacher I think it was my English teacher. Our English teacher, I think, I could be wrong, is when I was 5th grade, long time ago. So, she was doing a segment on racism, okay, and why racism was bad. Fair enough. And she was talking about how, and she asked us a question. She asked a question. She was saying something like to the effect of, people use slurs to defame and degrade others. Do you guys know any slurs that people use? I knew slurs that people used, and I said those slurs. I answered the question. I got sent to the principal's office. But I was answering the question. I was just telling her the answer, okay? I knew it, okay? I knew the answer, and I said the answer. I was in 5th grade. Don't blame me, okay? She asked a question. I answered the question. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I had to go to the principal's office. I got detention. I'm still salty about that. I'm still angry about that. I knew better? Did I? She wanted to know if we knew slurs. I knew slurs. I answered the question. I went above and beyond. I'm still mad they sent me to the office for that. I'm very angry. That wasn't the only slur I said. I said a few. Let's keep reading. I'm glad to be different and not the same as other people. I know how to be formal. I know how to use my words. Even if I get mad at you, there's always been a reason, whether or not I despise you or just because I can. Some of you guys really do deserve the execution punishment. Rather painful or not, you deserve to be dead. But yet, doesn't the whole world deserve that? The punctuation in the grammar is just really bad, okay? The main target has been anyone with some sort of feeling or being of knowing any action to turn you wrong and left rather than the right and the better. Either way, I will always hate humanity and it will never be overruled. If someday it is so overruled and I shall never see that day, and knowing how this world is and how everyone is scum of filth, nobody will ever overrule it, and all everyone will be is some worthless thing. Out of all serious talk, though, how everyone forces either religion on others or how some people just disobey the right from wrong and using the wrong for the worse, what I'm simply doing is not wrong one single bit. Maybe sure to some people due to its harmful studies, according to some people. The hate I get and the hate you get is mutual. You hate me, and I will always hate you as well, no matter what you've done to me, but you will always have a little place of hate. I don't care what you think, though, nor would I ever really. I'd rather be dead than sit in a room all day, no matter if it's school, work, or even my own room, even if I like being alone. I will never be like anyone else and ruin my mind. I am a part of the real thought and the real revolution. Let's see. Is there more? Yes. Here is page 3. Manifesto. Terror of shooters and the right from wrong. 18-year-old Pekka Erik Alvinen, November 7th, started at 11:40 of 2007, 2 years before my birthday, on my birth date. One true ideal of the so-called future, the future plan of revenge from its own inspiration and more, leading more. True inspiration, a mind of thought passed on from others rather than rotting like everyone else. Simply a guy who knew what he was doing and not ruining his life and just making the world a better place instead. 18-year-old Arda, also known as Screewy, August 12th at 6:25 of 2024, approximately 126 days apart from my own ending. An ultimate saint, deaths made or not, still willing to do what he did. A being of true nature and being a word of the truth. Someone I was inspired by. Maybe I didn't know him, but what stops me, what would have stopped him from doing what was right and now proven to be a true form of being and of simple hope. Damn, gang. Page 4. Introduction of myself. My name is Samantha Rupnow. I was born on November 7th of 2009, exactly 2 years after Pekka's attack. Incredible, am I right? Nobody knows I'm doing this. I got the weapons. Someone asked about this, so pay attention. I got the weapons by lies and manipulation and my father's stupidity. Lies, manipulation, my father's stupidity. I planned on shooting myself a while ago, but thought maybe it was better for evolution rather than just one stupid, boring suicide, which hopefully I'll reach that point. I've planned this myself and nobody else. I act alone. There would have been no way to change what has happened. You can't and you will never know. You never cared too much to know anything about me. I'm glad you don't know. That's dark, man. That's dark. What kind of mind do you have to be in, right? Look, we all had our teenage phase. We all had our edgy phase. We all had our, like, I hate you, mom and dad phase. That's part of growing up. I am curious what sent her down this specific path, right? To have just so much animosity that you're willing to not only hurt yourself, but to kill people around you. Stark Honor, unsurprisingly, says conservative media is creating these monsters. Which conservative media turned this 15-year-old girl into killer? Which one? Specific. Can you point to an episode? Specific program? Yeah, Bud Gaff says her manifesto is almost completely incoherent, like big time mental issues. Yeah, obviously, she had something going on, right? Like, sane people don't engage in these kinds of acts. Especially not children, right? So I don't know, right? I have no idea if she had any kind of mental issues beforehand, if they had her on any kind of medication. I'm not aware of it if she did, right? But obviously she needed something that she didn't get. I don't know what that is. And I do feel like I feel for the family, honestly. The mom and the dad, I don't know if she had brothers and sisters, but like the guilt they have to feel. And I don't even know if that guilt's something that they right like should feel. I don't know. It could be that they are guilty of something, right? Whether it be neglect, not seeing what needed to be done, not having the courage to do what needed to be done to help their daughter. I don't know. I have no idea. It's also possible that they did everything right and there was just something fundamentally broken within this girl. I don't know. But damn. Average Debate Enjoyer says, how do you catch this? If most people like this are just kids looking for attention, how do you stop this? I have no idea. I don't know. It's sad. Let me see. Lucy's not here yet. I'm going to keep going till Lucy gets here. Lucy, when you get here, just jump off stage. Stark's Honor says, stop ignoring facts. She probably literally watched Nick Fuente's stream. Same people become radicalized to commit violence by neo-Nazi talking points, which are now mainstreamed by the all-conservative media. Can you show me where she was viewing Nick Fuentes' content? Like you're saying that these are facts. Fair. I might not be aware, but I haven't seen anything where she was viewing his content. But again, I might just not be aware. Stark Honor says white replacement theory is now mainstreamed. Literally a KKK talking point. Okay, I just don't know what to tell you, right? Like, she very well may have watched Nick Fuentes, right? I don't know, but this next page is just her as a newborn. Here are the final pages, and we're going to go through the final pages. Okay, so pages 5 and 6, last ones. I've always been a quiet kid, I'd say, or at least that's what everyone around me has said, and never really had the brains for most things because I wasn't smart enough for people around me, even though I'm good at science and some stuff. Nobody really looked at me in a good way in elementary or middle school, nor even high school right now. Doesn't matter much because I like being alone. Sometimes I just hate being picked on, but yet I mourn for friends. But sooner than later, they'll leave. My therapist sucks. He's just some weak and fat guy who doesn't deserve everything he has now. Nobody deserves anything good. So she was getting therapy, or at least according to the manifesto. My so-called family never included me because I was too weird for them. My father never treated me with respect. My father will always make me stand out in the worst possible way yet, bring up how I fail school or can't get out of bed simply because I don't want to leave. He makes me look like a freak to his family and friends. He says so much, but look at his bad side. My parents divorced quite a few times, which didn't help me at all, but not did it really affect me. It just made me a little lonely because nobody was there for me and never really has. My mother tried overdosing when I was around 12 or something. I don't care if she would have survived or died from it, but yet she was still here. Doesn't mean she actually was in my life. I see my parents as failures for everything they've done to me and just kind of fucking with my life. There never was helpful advice given to me. It was all bullshit. The world itself is bullshit, to be fair, though. So why should I or you see so much in it? I've never really liked my father, to be exact, because honestly, why should I? Our hate is mutual to each other. He will never see me as his daughter. He will never love me like he loved his ex or her kids or even alcohol. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore because nobody heard me out and just made fun of me my entire life. I'm sick of it. I've been trapped and forced into my corner. I hate this corner that I'm stuck in. I hate humanity for forcing me into this little hole. I once had this time when I was young. You made me dig for so long, and now I can't leave it, but only look up at your smiles laughing at me. I honestly don't remember how old I was. I know I was young, but yet I remember everything that still happened because it happens every once in a while. Never have I once brought this up to a therapist, anyone, because nobody cared at the time, nor will now. I saw things around me, and I laid on the floor, not being able to move. I was overwhelmed and tired. Hard breath. Things around me felt bigger than usual, and I was faint. Once in a while, I get that same feeling. I know how to control it. That one night, I begged for my mother to help me, but she was in the next room to me in her apartment where she was with her boyfriend, awake because all I heard was her walking right past me in my room. I was the wrong child of the family. My parents admit they didn't want me, never did even if I've grown. I'm always the one who sat out or sat in another room because they didn't want to interact with me at any point in time. Then I stayed in my room all day during the day and night and after and before school as well. Doesn't help that school was a pain in my ass while getting teased and pushed around. I always got picked on for being out of pocket, as if the quietness was out of pocket for them and just too odd or something. I moved schools. What's already happening? Picked on again, just not any worse. I know this will happen anywhere and any time in my life, but it's annoying. I'm starting to realize you will all die and perish and be forgotten in 20 or years or less. Your family will think you are a disappointment, as the hate I have for you now isn't enough. I want to hate to tear you apart, but yet won't happen because you are the reason hate is a thing and will always continue to be a thing. I am not hate. I am simply pointing this out. You and the system will always suck. Therefore, we need revolution. Nobody understands that, though, nor do people understand the fact that they probably sat next to me in class and never thought a single word about me, nor ever really thought to. I don't really care, though, to be honest, nobody really has. The wolf hunts its prey and continues life with no other bruises or scars. There is no predator and prey anymore. It is all filth walking. There is nothing more with filth. That simply cannot die or make hunts real if only they want is value. Finally, one learns that boredom is a disease of civilization. There you go. Thoughts? Pretty dark stuff. We got some money. $10 from another account. Let me elaborate for my last post. If a teen is worshiping school blanks, listening to the same music as them and dressing like them, maybe don't give them a gun or take it away for a while. I would be curious to see, like, she wasn't very clear of how she got her gun. She said it was from lies, manipulation, and her father's dumbness. Stupidity, to be more precise. So that is something I'm interested in, right? Like, what was the process? How did she get who gave her that gun, right? And if she was in therapy, what was she in therapy for, right? How serious did they consider her mental illness? Because I think it's clear she was mentally ill, right? Clearly. But yeah, I don't know. Dark Honor says, you really need to educate yourself about the rise of the right-wing extremism. If you cared at all, you would have done it before the election. Infallible Foul says her dad's Facebook is where the picture of her at the shooting range came from. Maybe. See if Lucy Haze is here. She's not here yet. Okay, I guess we still got stuff to talk about. Gelatinous Cube, I promise you this was not Fairy Queen. Gelatinous Cube, Rube says, don't you call Fairy Queen mentally ill. She is a nice lady. We are not talking about Fairy Queen. Fairy Queen would never engage in this kind of action. This was a 15-year-old girl who shot up a school and then shot herself. J-Max says, did you catch Biden's reaction to the shooting? I did not. Yeah, Fairy Queen's just normal. She's not a school shooter. Why are we insinuating she is? Stark Honor says Stark Honor, while we wait for Lucy, here. Lucy's hopefully going to be here soon. I don't know where she is. But until she gets here, why don't you jump on in? Why don't you come on backstage? I'll pull you in and we'll have a talk. And you can educate me on how this was the right wing's fault. More than willing to have you on. Just jump backstage and you can show me how to do it right. You can correct me. I am apparently not reporting on this to your satisfaction. And that's fair, right? I'm not a journalist. So please come backstage and show me what I'm doing wrong. Demonstrate. My YouTube chat's confused, but my Twitch chat that's where Stark Honor is, and he's saying a lot. Okay, first of all, Frostback asking questions. If you're using me as a journalist, you're using me wrong. That is not my purpose. I'm not here to be a journalist. I am a commentary guy, right? I give my opinion. I do talk about the news of the day because that's interesting to me. But no, I am not a journalist. But yeah, you were in my Discord, I believe. Just jump backstage. It's at the top of the Discord. Click the button, and I'll pull you in, and we'll have a chat, and you can tell me why I am a fascist enabler. And I'm more than willing to hear you out. I will let you give your argument uninterrupted. Yeah. I'm not joking, right? Giving you this opportunity. Why are we talking about Fairy Queen okay, did Fairy Queen do something that I'm unaware of? Like, Fairy Queen is not a school shooter. She did not kill anyone. She has no plans to kill anyone that I'm aware of. I don't know what's going on anymore, gang. Why are we fighting about, like, why are we trying to use this tragedy, this shooting, right? To try and, like, push ideologies. I find that crass. But hold on. Oh, they're DMing me. All my viewers are fascist. Well, then tell the fascists what for, okay? Again, all you gotta do is jump backstage, and you can tell them yourself. Okay. Again, like, we do need to figure out why this happens, right? School shootings are a problem in America, and we do need to discuss possible solutions. And in order to do that, we do have to identify why this happens. I don't think the answer is as simple as some try to make it out to be. I think it's a very complex problem. But yeah. Oh, we have a visitor, gang. Hello, you're live. Hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing, Stark? Is Stark or Honor? Which do you like?
I'm doing mediocre, but let me turn off this fucking. But yeah, my whole problem with you is very simple. You are supposed to be like, I saw you first on Cupid's stream, and you went during the whole Trump Kamala debate.
Okay.
And you were doing a good job for the most part of, explaining the position against Trump, but you neglected to talk about the fact that he's a fascist and that he's radicalizing his supporters and normalizing fascism that would have been condemned even by conservatives 4 years ago, 8 years ago, fucking 2 years ago. They all came. Mitch McConnell came out and said, Trump incited this thing, blah blah blah. They all said, "Oh, I'm done with Trump. I'm done with Trump. I'm done with Trump." Then because he's the Republican nominee, because he's a fucking cult leader, and the whole party is a simp, a Trump's cult simp, whatever the fuck it is. It's not even a party anymore. It's just a fucking a cult of Trump. But anyways, because that's what the party became, all these people realized like, all right, we gotta win as Republicans. So they all went and like backed him. And you see all these fucking YouTube content creators, they all fucking back Trump. All these TikTokers, they all fucking back Trump. Half of them were like didn't
But to be
even
clear,
live, weren't even alive.
I didn't back
With
Trump. Just so you
Yeah, I
know.
know, but
I publicly, in fact, railed against Trump.
you didn't point out the biggest problems with Trump, which is that he is a fascist, that he attempted a coup, and that he is very almost certainly not going to allow the peaceful transfer of
We've talked
power
about
in
January 6th a
2028 or
lot on
whenever the
this
hell
show.
it happens. He literally said he wanted to lock up his opponents. He said if someone runs against me, I'm going to tell my attorney general to lock him up. You didn't say shit like that. And you didn't talk about how the whole movement is just based on misinformation and lies and all this bullshit. So people get sucked into it, and the whole thing is about playing the victim. This whole like it's literally the same talking point as the KKK, white agreement, like what was that, white replacement theory. They're bringing in all these immigrants to replace you. That is literally a KKK talking point, and that is literally like the main argument made by Republicans. I'm sure you've heard this and seen this.
I've
But
seen
you,
a
but
lot
then
of
you just go,
arguments
oh,
by
I wonder
Republicans.
why some racist would shoot up a school. Oh, I wonder where she would get the idea that she has to do this kind of thing. I wonder why Dylan Roof would get the idea that he has to kill all these non-black people because the white race is under threat. Because that idea is normalized by mainstream Republicans and the
Are
media
Republicans
and
also
fucking everybody
responsible
else. It's all,
for
there's immigrants coming in, there's immigrants
the
coming in, blah blah
Luigi
blah 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 blah
shooting?
blah blah
Are
blah 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 blah.
Republicans and
And then
Trump
they try and
responsible for that
sanitize it
too?
and pretend that that is not the actual the
Well,
driving
no,
force
no.
behind it.
My question though, like the Luigi shooting where he
What's your
shot the
question?
CEO shooter, were Republicans responsible for that as well?
I'm not, my point is not about specific things. My thing is when you have an entire party whose whole agenda is to radicalize people with misinformation and extremism and normalize it, this kind of thing is inevitable. And it happens again and again and again. The Luigi Mangione thing, I haven't looked into it that much. I don't give a shit. Some people are praising him and he shouldn't be praised. Whatever. There's problems with the healthcare system. People see him as whatever, but it's I am talking about the problem with the right wing ecosystem normalizing and weaponizing extremism and using that to gain supporters and specifically people who were
I
not
don't.
politically active before. That is
I,
the easiest way that they can bring in people, get people to
I
vote who
understand.
don't normally vote.
I'm going to come out and say though that I don't think that Republicans are responsible for this specific shooting. I don't think that
Yeah, I didn't
right
say
wing.
Republicans are responsible. I said that this kind of rhetoric leads to this kind of behavior, and she's clearly a bigot. You read some of her shit. I, you read some very racist stuff that she said.
Yeah, she
Obviously,
said some
she's going to
racist shit.
identify
Hmm.
more with the right than the left or whatever.
I,
But I'm
I
not
think she was
trying
just
to. I'm not
crazy. I don't
trying
think
to.
she was right wing or left wing. I think she was just crazy. She was a 15-year-old crazy person.
Craziness is being mainstreamed by the right wing. Trump is crazy. Trump is a fucking fascist lunatic, and he's the leader of the goddamn movement. Okay? So they have to downplay all this bullshit and lean into it all.
I just look. I don't like Trump either. I get it. I just
And
think
my
that we
problem
need
with
to
you,
be
hang on, my
honest
problem
with
with
who he
you
is.
is
Let
you
me
always
hold
bring
on.
on
Can I
these these
finish?
these smooth-tongued,
Can I
silver-tongued fascists like Lactoid to
like
sanitize
lactoid?
these extremist talking points and
Let
all
me
the dumb shit. Like
let me get a
we're
word
fucking
in.
literally debating about whether or not it's okay to invade Canada. We're fucking talking about that like that's something normal.
We should
Okay?
invade Canada. No, I'm memeing. Obviously, we
Yeah,
shouldn't invade
but
Canada,
listen,
but we
that's
should.
insane that we're fucking talking about that
I don't
shit.
think
Should we
anyone's
invade
seriously
Canada?
considering
Should we invade
invading
Mexico?
Canada.
That's fucking insane. But this is literally just like normal now because the right wing has made a project of normalizing extremism and craziness and saying it's not crazy. They just spent months convincing, millions of Americans that Trump is not a fascist
Okay,
lunatic who attempted a coup
let
when
me
the
get a word
facts
in here.
say that he is. Go
Let me
ahead.
let me get a word in
Don't
here,
say, but
right?
if it's stupid, I'll cut you off.
Fair enough. We can play this game if you'd like, but I think that one of the reasons we lost was because of you and people like you trying to paint everything as extreme as possible can, and people looked at that, they realized, well, that's just not true. And they were like, okay, well, if they're lying to
It's
me,
true. The
maybe
president of the United States incited a terrorist attack on the Capitol that got
I
cops
agree
killed and
that was
shit. And
an
then the
insurrection. I
entire
agree
party
with you.
still
But you go
backed him
further
and
than that.
supported
You
him.
go
And
further
even
than
when he
that.
was
You say
saying
that
that it
he's
was
a
a day of
fascist,
love and that he was
that
going to
everything
pardon
is
them,
he's
he
responsible
was
for
saying
all
he
the
was going to
sins in the
pardon these
world,
violent
and people
insurrectionists.
recognize that this is just not true. Like, again, I'm with you
He
that he
was
did incite an
saying that he
insurrection.
was
I've said
going
it
to
on my show
pardon.
all sorts of times. All sorts of times. People who watch my show regularly
See,
can attest to this, that we've
this
had
is why
show
this
after
is the
show after
problem with
show
you.
on
This is the
why
problem with you.
it's a
This
problem
is
that
my
I'm
whole
talking
point.
about this.
You're downplaying
I'm
facts. You're
not
denying facts.
downplaying. I'm trying to be accurate with my facts. What you're trying to do
No,
is
you
to
are
paint this in the
downplaying
worst way
facts.
possible. You're crying wolf.
Trump attempted a coup. Yes or no? Did Trump attempt a
Yes,
coup?
obviously.
Okay. Did he incite a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol?
Insurrection, yes.
Okay. Did he then go
I
around
don't
and
know if it's
say that these
terrorism.
are political prisoners and that he's going to pardon them?
Yes, that's all bad. We
Okay.
condemn it.
That's fucking insane.
It's
Why are we
crazy.
talking?
That's why I didn't
So
vote for
why are we
Trump.
pretending
And why I
that
told
why are
people
we
not to vote for
pretending
Trump. Because that's
why
not
are
all
we
you're saying.
pretending that
That's not all you're saying.
one
And
side
don't
is
pretend that's
not
all you've been saying.
responsible for the craziness when
Don't
they
pretend
are
that's all you've been
clearly
saying,
not?
because it's absolutely not. Right? If all you had
Don't
said
what?
is,
Don't what?
I think Trump is a fascist because of the January 6th stuff, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. I don't know if
Well,
he's a
not just
fascist
that.
for it, but
There's
yeah,
other
that was
reasons
really
too.
bad. He shouldn't have done it. He does not deserve to be president. Unfortunately, people voted for him, though, right? And so we have to ask ourselves, why did people vote for him, right? Why did people
Because
ignore
because
people like
I can
you?
tell you why. I can tell you
Well,
why. No, because
let me
he has been
explain.
allowed he has been allowed to
What do you mean
murder truth.
allowed?
The right wing and fascists
What would you have
always
done to
attack.
stop him?
Listen, let me finish. This is important. Right wingers and fascists have always attacked objective sources of truth and made them the enemy. He calls the press the enemy of the people. This is what they do. So when there are no objective facts, when people can't tell up from down, black from white, did Trump commit a coup? I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe not. Then misinformation can win. Lies can win. Fascism can win. If people don't know what is going on, what is white and black, what is anything, then of course, misinformation can win because he's been in the public eye for years. He was a former
Misinformation
president.
wins.
He has all this,
Hold on.
this like
I get what you're saying.
this
Misinformation
cultish.
wins. Misinformation wins when people can't separate fact and fiction, where they feel that all sides are lying to them. And when you, again, go on
But Trump
this
is the one
extremist
who pushed
rhetoric,
this idea that
they
no one can be
realize that
trusted
you are
but
lying to
him.
them. And so it makes it
Trump
harder
got
for them to
millions
trust
of
us.
people
And
to
what I'm trying to do
exclusively
is I'm
get.
trying to be accurate in how I portray the world by calling balls and strikes like I
What
see
you
them.
are doing
And
is
to do
trying
that,
to
to
call
gain trust of the American
things,
people. So when I
trying to
say
pretend
something's
everything
wrong,
is
people
equal
believe me
when it
because
is
they know
not.
I'm not an
You're trying
ideologue.
to pretend everything is equal when it's not.
I'm not
That is the
trying to pretend
problem.
everything's equal. I'm
Yes, you
a
are. You're trying to
Democrat. I'm a
equalize
strong
everything.
Democrat. Been so all my life, right?
No, you're
I
not a
don't
strong
vote for
Democrat. You're a weak,
Republicans because I
pussy ass
don't think
Democrat
that
who
they're
doesn't
someone
understand.
that they don't deserve my vote. But here's the thing, right? Like, we have to acknowledge that people don't trust us, and one of the reasons that they don't trust us is because we lie to them,
They have.
right? People like
No,
you
you want to
have
talk about.
lied
You
to
want
them.
to talk about trust. Trump literally has spent years convincing millions of people and most of your fucking chat that the only people who can be trusted is him, even though he's fucking wrong about everything. But he's convinced these people that any other source of truth is biased, and so they literally get all of their facts from the most biased fascist source in America.
Because
This
people
guy.
don't trust institutions because institutions have lied to them.
Because he told them not to.
But the only reason they listened is because institutions have lied to them.
No, because
They have.
when you tell people sweet lies, they like them. That's why people tell people sweet lies. That's how you get them to believe bullshit. And yeah, there's also other problems too, but calling that shit out instead of the biggest one, the guy who's about to be president again, who is a fucking lunatic and who has murdered truth and who's about to attack the press in a way we've never
I
seen.
call out Trump a
And
lot. I don't know what to tell you.
nah, bro, you always have your fucking panels with 20 Trumpists, and they hijack the conversation the entire time. And any Democrat you bring on is fucking weak as shit and doesn't call out the facts.
I'll bring you on sometime.
Is
But
and
my
he's
guest is
always
here.
engaging in good faith and willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then they start talking, and then they get cut off and by fucking straw man bullshit. It's not a debate. It's just fucking not. It's just
Fair
a
enough.
platform for fascism, dude. That's why I've said it.
If that's what you
you're
think,
bringing on
I'll
people to lie
I'll let people decide,
bullshit.
weigh and measure our words, and decide who they should trust more, me or you. Thank you for calling in, and I'm sure we'll talk
please,
again.
yeah, your platform is gonna not trust you. Okay, buddy.
I mean,
I'm
if I
I'm
lie to
glad
them,
at
they
least
won't.
somebody spoke
Right?
the truth on your fucking team for once.
if they
I'm glad
lie, if I
somebody's
lie to my
speaking the
audience, they
truth
won't trust me anymore.
for
That's
once.
true. That's correct. So I try not to. But anyway,
It's
buddy.
not lies. It's not lies. It's less it's more passive than that. It's just allowing yourself to be manipulated and to not call out the political um landscape as it accurately.
Well, we just have different views on the accuracy of the landscape right now. But my
Well, that's
guest is
why the
here.
Democrats
My
are gonna
guest
keep
is here, who
losing.
I've been waiting for a little bit.
And who is this? Is this some fascist little bitch too, or is this some decent person?
Lucy Haze, are you a fascist little bitch?
For the stupidest of reasons.
Hi, Lucy. Or my caller here wants
I'm
to know.
not gonna comment
you're
on
fascist.
what
Is this
should
a
be
Trump
done
voter?
with the
Are
farmers.
you happy Trump
It's not
won?
good.
He's gonna make America white again. You're so
I would
happy
not
about
be
that?
nice to the farmers for blockading Ukrainian border.
Lucy, do you know you're
That's
live
for sure.
on my
I
show?
would not be kind.
Uh-oh.
Who is this person and
I'm
why
the
are they so
Grinch that
qualified
stole
to speak on
Halloween.
this issue?
Nice. Did you know that Polish people every single year watch Home Alone as a Christmas tradition?
Lucy,
Americans
you're
do too.
live on my show. I don't know who you're talking to, but it's not
You
us.
know that?
Lucy, please, Lucy.
Oh. Wait, I'm in.
Yes, Lucy.
Hold
Hi.
on.
Hi, you're live. I don't know
I'm
what you're
actually
saying or who
in
you
the
sent it to,
thing,
but you're on my
but I
program.
cannot hear anything, so
Uh-oh. Okay. She's having audio issues.
can you hear me?
This is a she.
We can hear you. Yeah,
Hold
it's
on.
Lucy's a she. Mm-hmm.
I think my audio thing
Like
is messed
born
up.
biologically.
Where is it?
She sounds
Voice
very
and
masculine.
audio.
Okay. Stark Honor, I will talk to you later, buddy.
Hello.
Liars,
Now I
liars.
can hear you.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay.
I fixed my audio forever for today.
Okay, thank you.
What happened to the other person debating you about Trump?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm not sure what happened to them, but I hope they can get the help they need. I don't know what to tell them. I don't know. Like, whatever. Hey.
Hello. I'm
Hi.
here to debate you.
You're gonna debate me. Okay, let's do this.
Hold on. I should turn off the camera here and turn, because my camera cannot be on two things at once because I have an amazing camera.
Yeah,
I mean,
take
it's
your
better
time.
than not having any camera, but you know. Does your audience know even who I am?
Not yet.
Have you?
I've been
Well done.
covering the school shooting yesterday, and I've been covering
Yeah.
Luigi Maglione or whatever his name is.
Oh, so what's your opinion on the
Mm,
Luigi
he's a murderer.
CEO
Murderers
killing?
go to jail.
Apart
Straight
from
up.
that, I mean that's
That's my
the
opinion.
that's the simple opinion. Is that all? Is that it?
I think people celebrating him are kind of gross.
But do you think that people, I mean, celebrating, sure. But do you think that it's bad, for example, not to be sad about it happening?
I don't care if you're
Just
not sad.
saying.
Like if you have no opinion and you're like don't care, that's fine.
No, it's not like you don't have an opinion. It's like you think, yeah, the person basically sentenced many people to death through paperwork means. So, like, I'm not gonna shed a tear because something happened to him. Something along those lines.
I think that's wrong thinking and it's a mistake in value judgment.
Exactly.
But
Also,
it's better than the people who are cheering it on. And the ones I worry about the most are the people who are making him into a martyr. And those are the people who I think are I have the biggest
after
issue
all,
with.
like, I heard that this company has like a grossly higher level of rejections than any other in the US.
Sure. But that
Shouldn't they
doesn't
go to
really tell
jail
me.
for murder or something?
Yes, because
Technically speaking.
that doesn't the fact that they have a higher rejection rate does not tell me whether or not those rejections were valid or not. So unless you think that no claim should ever be rejected for any reason, which I don't. I
Well,
think there's valid reasons for insurance companies to reject a
it's
claim.
true. But if this particular company has this many more rejections, then that would either mean that this company rejects too much or all the other companies reject too little, in your view.
Or they're just cheaper and that means they get more denials of coverage. I don't know. And neither does
Are they
almost anyone
cheaper?
else. This is a big thing. No one here, no one talking about it knows what they're talking about. They don't know why the claims have been rejected. They don't know what role Brian Thompson had in making the rejection rate that way. Had their rejection rate gone up or down since he took office? I don't know. Or not took office, since he became the CEO. Has he reduced or increased that rejection rate? I'm not sure. And most people, when they decided what they felt about this, didn't know either. And to be willing to celebrate or even just look the other way on a murder based on just guesswork is just not something I'll do. Again, I'm
It's
not
not
saying that I'm not
entirely
here to
guesswork, right?
defend the health insurance companies, but I'm saying that vigilantism is never the answer.
Hold on. I put you on. Have I? Hold on, I have to actually put you on
Okay.
green. How have you been? How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I just returned from Ukraine.
How'd that go?
It's well, I've been doing interviews with organizations. I've been mainly focusing on one, Save Ukraine. Have you heard of Save Ukraine?
I have not. Tell me about it.
It's an organization that saves children that were kidnapped into Russian territory and also saves children that were living under occupation in Russia.
Interesting. That's
It's
really cool. That's a good thing, right?
yeah, it's a really good thing. How do I pop up the pop? I want to pop out the
There should
window
be a
first.
button on the side of the Discord. If you click on the pit,
There you go.
you
Boom.
see it.
I've popped you out, and now I can add you. There's a
Okay.
window.
Are we
Window
good?
capture.
Are you ready
Yes, sir.
to talk about what we came to talk about?
Yes. Although you've changed the topic a bit, I've seen.
Well, no, we're talking about orcs in Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah, but
right?
we were supposed to be talking about whether or not they've gone woke, not if they're racist.
Either way, right? Like I think it's close enough. But
It's not
please,
the
how about
same.
this? We'll do it this way. You introduce your thesis, your argument, and we'll talk about it. Sound good?
All right.
Go ahead.
It sounds perfect. One moment, I'll have you on, and then I'll Where's the Discord thing? Discord, the pit. That's it, right? Is that it? The
Yes,
pit?
ma'am.
All right. You should introduce me to your audience or something.
Lucy Haze, everyone. Lucy
that?
Haze has been on my show before a couple times. She is someone who lives near Ukraine. She is very invested in Ukrainian issues, and she also
Yes.
has strong thoughts on role-playing games such as Dungeons and Dragons. And
Exactly.
a while ago, this has been a while in the making. A while ago, she and I talked about whether or not Dungeons and Dragons had gone woke. Or was racist or something along those lines. And we had a substantive disagreement. She asked if she could come talk to me about it on stream. I agreed, and here we are.
Yes.
Did I miss anything? Go ahead.
No, I don't think so. I guess my opening thesis is very short. It's that from the very inception of Dungeons and Dragons, from the very first edition, Orcs have been a pretty diverse project, a pretty varied project, and as the different iterations of worlds and scenarios have developed, very different versions of Orcs have developed among them, and that this artwork that we've been discussing just fits with the trend of different types of tribes, different types of Orcs, different type of lifestyle of Orcs.
Give me one
That's
second.
That's
Let's see
basically
if
my
we
my
can bring
thesis.
up the artwork in question.
Yes. I have it on my stream.
Can you DM it to me, please? And then I can have it on my stream too.
Of course. One moment.
Just so everyone knows what we're talking about. So to again maybe clarify what we're going to be talking about today. This art direction, and the lore direction that I think Dungeons and Dragons have gone with Orcs, I feel does a disservice to the lore of Orcs in role playing games, and I also it's not for me. It's not a direction that I like, and I think that races, their lack of having evil races is bad for the game as a whole. But we'll talk about it
Okay.
as soon as I get the artwork. Give me a second.
The DM in our little group, right?
Either that or direct DM me. Either one. Either works.
Right.
And I can show you guys what the artwork
So
is,
got
and you can know.
got
I know some of you are
tons.
probably familiar with the artwork already, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows what we're talking about.
Oh, there you go. That's it. This is the artwork.
Let me show. You already have it up on your stream, so I'll just show it on mine.
Yeah. Have everything.
There we are, kings and queens. This is what we're talking about. We have the Mexican Orcs. Okay, they're about to cross the Rio Grande and assault Fort Alamo. Okay, it's the new Keep on the Borderlands expansion. Okay, they have to get through the mighty wall before they get to their target, though. But yeah, this is the artwork. These are the orcs, or at least the half orcs, and how they're portrayed in in the new D&D. What do you guys think?
I have an expert on board, by the way. I'm
Yeah?
cheating because I'm consulting an expert
That's fine.
who's in the chat. A D&D expert who's
Yeah,
done some research with me on the subject.
Fair enough.
He said, I'm interested what Wick thinks about orcs being in the lore exactly.
I think that orcs as a species, at least in the beginnings of the game, were considered an wholly evil race. They had an evil god who created them. They were intrinsically evil, at least in the lore at the beginning. That has changed over time. However, I think it's to the detriment of the hobby. I think that
Okay.
it makes for better stories and better games if you have intrinsically evil races. And I personally think orcs are a good one for that.
Is it fine if I share screen with you?
By all
Right, that's
means, right?
right.
No,
We're
no, no
gonna
slurs or nothing. Okay, right? I don't want to see any.
no slurs. We're gonna go and sort of go to the basics and try
Does your
to.
friend who's an expert want to come on in?
No, she's a bit voice shy. It'll take her some time
Okay,
before she's able to speak. So let's give her grace
that's fine.
and let's just focus on her expertise.
Whenever you want to share your
But
screen,
let's consult because you've said that the orcs were an intrinsically evil race from the beginning, right?
in my opinion, yes.
So let's consult the very beginning. Let's consult the material. How do I share screen with
It
you
should just
here?
work. Hopefully, let me give you a roll, maybe.
Am I able to share screen with you?
Try it now.
Yeah, I think I'm able to. So I think this should be it. Orcs D&D PNG. Do you see it?
Give me a second, and I might hold on. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, can you make it bigger?
I can zoom in.
Yes, please. Thank you. And what's the
Is it okay?
what is the source material we're looking at? What's the
It's the gosh. I'm gonna tell you what it is. I think it's the very first booklet for D&D, I believe. It's the manual 1974 Dungeons and Dragons white box 10 USD.
Okay.
So let's read. The number of different tribes of orcs can be as varied as desired. Once decided upon, simply generate a random number. Whenever orcs are encountered, the number generated telling which tribe they belong to. Keeping in mind intertribal hostility, when found in their lair, it will be either a cave, complex die 1 to 4, or a village die 5 to 6. The cave complex will be guarded by sentries. A village will be protected by a ditch and palisade defense. It basically describes
Yeah.
orcs.
It gives
And
a stat block and things like that.
the
Yeah.
most important thing is this here. Alignments. How alignments worked in the very beginning of D&D, right?
I'm
They
aware of
were
the
much
alignments.
more
Yes.
simplified than later. You had law, neutrality, and chaos,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you will notice that you have chaos, which was basically combined with evil because you didn't have chaotic evil, you just had chaos, right?
Well, the evil wasn't an alignment back then for a very good
Yeah,
reason.
but
Like there was
it
good
was sort
chaos,
of
there was evil
inserted
chaos, there was good
into
law, there was evil law, there was good neutral, there was evil neutral, right?
not from the very beginning.
Yes, though that's why they don't have a good and evil on here.
Yeah, but it wasn't. You still did not have as you did not have the chaotic, evil, good, lawful,
Yes, they
evil,
didn't use
etc.
evil and good as a
Yeah,
base of alignment. That's
yeah.
true.
See, exactly. So you have chaos, where you have orcs,
Yeah.
which you would say makes them an intrinsically evil race.
No, that's not what makes them the intrinsically evil race.
Yeah.
They weren't even
What does?
intrinsically chaotic. They built cities, right? Some of them were more neutral. Again,
Yeah,
how earlier
exactly.
D&D worked, right? Was
Yeah.
it was a tale between a conflict between law and chaos, not good and evil, right? And so
Yeah.
a party might align at times with orcs against the forces of law, right?
Right.
That might happen. But again, from the beginning, through the lore, they were intrinsically evil.
Well, no, because you just said that evil and good was not a thing.
Not in the alignment and gameplay wise.
Exactly.
No. But
Yeah.
orcs, right, were created by an evil god, right, to do evil things. Grumps, I think was it called? Grumps? How do you guys spell this? Okay, help me out here. Grumps. Yeah. Here, let me get it out. Grumps.
Oh, I've been told by my expert that the first iteration did not have the 9 alignments.
Well, exactly.
That is a later introduction.
Law, neutral, chaos. Those were the 3.
Yeah.
We agree on that.
Yeah, we agree.
Yes, but
so how
evil.
how can we call?
Okay, because when you look at the role,
evil?
okay, when you look into orcs and the lore about orcs specifically, right? In the lore, from the earliest things we have, it talks about how they're an here. Let me get a source for you so I can help you out.
Yes, please.
Orcs.
We're looking at the first edition right now, right?
Okay, give me a second. Yes, so
because the first edition description does not define them as evil or good.
Well, it doesn't give much of a description at all in that book, right? It just talks about
we cannot call them.
But we know again because the creators put down their source material in Appendix K, Appendix J. I forget the exact letter, but they listed books from which they derived inspiration for their lore, for the game.
Inspiration.
And there's a whole list of books that they listed which give a source of this is what we were inspired by when we made the game. These are the books we read. These are the things we consumed, the media we consumed when we made the game. This is inspiration we drew from. And in that appendix, right, you have books like, obviously, Lord of the Rings, right? You have more than that, obviously. There's a whole list of them. But Lord of the Rings. And in that, again, Lord of the Rings, they are intrinsically, as a species, evil, right? They were deprived of their ability to choose.
Right. But the inspiration can mean many things. Are we gonna base our arguments on the material, which does not describe them as intrinsic, evil? Or are we gonna go by inspirations?
Was included in the material. Hold on.
Yeah, but it says that it's an inspiration, not that we basically took the orcs from this material and we directly inserted it here. They said it was an inspiration. So that could have been an inspiration to the effect of there's this interesting race that we have here and we're gonna put it in our game. But an inspiration does not mean that the race is gonna be exactly the same, right? It's an inspiration. It's not a process of copying or just transferring from one medium to the other.
In any that's fair, but you'd have to show me either a module or a short story in maybe Dragon Magazine or something, right? Something where an orc by the official material is considered to be good.
Oh, you mean in the first edition?
In any edition before the introduction of half-orcs. So
any edition.
Any edition before the introduction of half-orcs. So first edition, second edition, the basic edition, right? Anything like that. If you could show me an example of either in an official module or in the player's handbook or the monster manual, perhaps, we can look. In fact, let's get up. I think was the first monster manual was, let me see. First monster manual entry for orcs. In the first edition monster manual, 1977.
Right.
Let me bring that up. Let me see if they have a link to that. They do. Oh, it's just a wiki on it, though. I want the actual thing. Give me a second, please. Hold on. You know who might have it?
Who?
Multiculturalist James. Let me bring him in. He might have
All
a
right.
copy. James, what's
All
up,
right.
brother? You're live. Hello.
There you
Hey,
go.
Hey, do you happen to have a copy of the first Monster Manual? 1972.
Also,
I have the
It's-
DM. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
I
you.
can hear you. Yeah, we all can hear you.
You have a lot of stuff. Do you have a copy of the Monster Manual?
And the humanoid manual where we're at it. The humanoid handbook.
I have the DM's guide for AD&D, but I don't have the monster manual, unfortunately.
You're
Sorry
not
You would
about
have
that.
the humanoid handbook.
Humanoid hand. What would that be?
Well, I assume a handbook for humanoid races.
Okay, the one you just linked me, bonding stuff is from the Monster Manual 2 of AD&D, which is not the first one, but we'll look at it. Hold on,
I have some screenshots from the monsters manual.
please. I'm getting up.
I'm gonna put it up in a moment. But as my expert says, it was inspired by Lord of the Rings, not a Lord of the Rings RPG. And you could play as orcs. Humanoid's handbook specifies it.
Does it have alignment restrictions? I doubt it
I
does.
assume so. No? Isn't that a thing in D&D?
No,
That you
for
play
orcs
with a-
specifically. If you could play as orcs in the first one, I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm just looking for the entry for orcs in the link I just got. Oh, this is so so hard to navigate this. Okay, we have Oliphant. Oliphants are rare. That's funny. Ophidian otters. Why are there no orcs in this?
Yeah.
Bro, you leaked me something without orcs in the... This is Monster Manual 2. No wonder. I need Monster Manual 1.
Oh, yeah.
One
Monster Manual
moment.
1 should have that. If it's AD&D, to my understanding, it's going to be the pig orcs too. They have porcine noses.
Yes.
Okay, second edition monster manual, yes?
Here, I found it. No, these are
pull it.
demons. Devils.
There you
The
go.
artwork's pretty
We
pretty
have it.
good.
We have it here. Although it's... I need a better version.
Look, we all need better versions.
There you go. True. Copy link. There you go.
I'm
Orcs are
almost
a
there.
species of aggressive mammalian carnivores that band together in tribes and survive by hunting and raiding. Orcs believe that in order to survive, they must expand their territory, and so they constantly involved in war against many enemies: humans, elves, dwarves, goblins, and other orc tribes. Orcs vary widely in appearance as they frequently crossbreed with other species. In general, they resemble primitive humans with gray-green skin covered with coarse hair.
I have... This is from also the first edition Monster Manual on AD&D.
Yeah.
Let me put it on screen,
My goodness.
and we can
There's a
transfer to
second
that real
page
quick.
here.
Yep,
Yes.
it's the pig face orcs.
That's them. Yep, that's them.
them. You guys looking? They have an alignment section here. That's interesting. Can
Yeah.
you do you need that bigger, or can you read that, Lucy? What's it say?
Or
I'm highlighting
can I see?
it. You see that? What's that say?
One moment. Can you... Are you sharing it with me?
I am sharing the
or-
screen. Yes, check it out. I've
Right,
highlighted
I'm gonna check it out.
particular spot.
Okay, where is it? Lawful evil. Which edition is this?
First edition AD&D. Pretty early on.
Advanced D&D.
Yeah, AD&D. When again they
So
transferred to the more common 9 stat block.
wait, but your argument was that they were always an intrinsically evil race.
Yes.
We have not. That does not establish that.
Okay. But
You cannot go to
as soon
advanced
as they
D&D to
have
establish
evil,
that they were been evil from the very
but
beginning.
as soon as they have evil as an option,
you cannot
right?
retrospectively said that therefore in all earlier editions have always been evil. No.
Intrinsically evil through the lore, as when the lore
No,
was,
you cannot.
was there. Yes, you can. You can
Well,
look at
no,
the appendix,
because
J,
in all
K, whatever it was.
in all the earlier versions, they were not described as
They were
evil.
described as a chaotic race. They were chaotic or neutral, right?
Yeah,
So
and
this
neutral
does
is not
represent a
evil. Neutral
change
is
when they
neutral.
changed the alignment system. They changed orcs to lawful evil, but they've always been a form of evil.
Well, you cannot say that. No, they've been chaotic and neutral. That's not the same as evil.
Being neutral and chaotic does not,
especially since in
rule out
earlier
evil.
Especially since in earlier editions, they have been when describing playable orcs, you have a description of orcs that try to be heroes, and nature is described in that handbook as more of a societal thing. It is said that orcs that become heroes and women orcs that are discriminated against in their
Can you show me?
society that, yeah, of course.
And what's this from? Here's from 1974. Let's look. The OD&D. Okay. We'll look
You
together.
have even specific lore within Forgotten Realms where your intrinsically quote unquote draws can be good. So,
My argument
Dries
isn't for
Do'Urden would be an
drow, right?
example,
My
no?
argument specifically for orcs. Like orcs
Yeah,
specifically
but
were created by an evil god. At
let's
least in the Forgotten Realms, but I'm not sure for the Greyhawk. Let's see.
go to the.
I'm looking for the orcs.
have
Are
it
these
here
not?
somewhere.
Are these not in alphabetical order? Okay, first of all, if I could go back in time to 1974, I would
You should.
make them list this in alphabetical order, because that's insane. That it's
Yeah.
not.
Did you ever get a chance to check out that vid I shared with you?
I did not.
It was interesting. Matt Colville, the guy who's making MCDM, the new one of the systems that's coming out on Kickstarter, he mentioned that there was this time in like 1974 because he needed wilderness expansion and then also what was the other one? Chainmail. You needed those to really understand how to play OD&D, and if you didn't have those, and you didn't have like a group to then like actually see how it's played.
Okay.
There are all these different
Sorry.
ways that then D&D got made up.
Okay,
so-
this is just the same thing you showed us earlier, right?
Yes, this is the humanoid handbook.
Where it doesn't
Role-playing
say,
suggestions. Player character orcs are not as rare as other humanoid races. The call to battle is not much different than the call to adventure, and orc heroes sometimes come to the forefront. If treated with care and patience, orc adventurers can become effective partners and allies. Because females have few rights in orc society, many of them turn to adventuring to escape their lot in life. A few orcs even attempt to reject their evil natures in order to try to become honorable warriors. While an orc will never become a paladin.
Hold on.
Let me finish.
Let's pin that.
Let me
They're
finish.
evil natures. So by
Yes.
nature, they are evil.
Let me finish. While an orc will never become a paladin, some do attain the orcish equivalent of holy warriors. However, those orcs that attempt to fight fair and with honor are sneered at and rejected by their own kind. Why fight face to face, the common orc thinks, when fighting from an advantageous hiding place is so much more effective?
Yes, but even in that quote that you
So-
just gave us, their nature is intrinsically evil.
Yeah, but the nature is described here as more of a societal thing, not an inborn thing. Because if it was an inborn thing, you couldn't just decide to, oh,
It says
I
also
may
that they'll
be
never
evil,
become paladins.
but
They
I'm
can't.
just...
They literally cannot be good enough to be a paladin.
No,
They
no, no,
literally
no.
can't.
They cannot be paladins. They cannot be granted the role of paladins, but they can be still honorable warriors.
Can you be evil and honorable? I think you can.
In fact, it says some do attain the orcish equivalent of holy warriors.
There are evil gods in D&D. Yes. And also neutral
So
gods who accept evil warriors.
some orcs can attain the orcish equivalent of paladin.
Again, a paladin's a very specific thing. It is a holy warrior and a paladin are not the same.
But they still can be good, which would contradict that they're just
Again,
intrinsically
nowhere
evil,
in what you just said shows that they can be good. In fact, it does suggest that they can't be good enough to be a paladin.
Good enough, but not good.
Again, the words that they use are very particular. They use honor, things like that. Again, when they use evil,
Yeah.
they use it
So unless someone
naturally.
is a
Orcs
paladin, they're
have
not
a
good?
natural evil nature.
Is that what you're saying?
James,
Humans
what do you think?
cannot be... Yeah?
Unfortunately, I don't have, like I said, the monster manual of AD&D and all that, but I did want to jump in with some of the maybe confusion about chaos, law, neutral, evil, good, all that stuff.
Please.
Yeah. So there are OSR books, old school revival or old school, I forget what the other ones are, Renaissance books that you can look at. So Old School Essentials is one of the most popular ones. What it tries to do is revive the BX rules and AD&D. This one for AD&D, which is Referee Assume, Advanced Fantasy, and then this one,
Yes.
Classic Fantasy. I found the section in the Classic Fantasy. I'm assuming it's going to be the same in the Advanced one if I look it up. Page 18, alignment. It already talks about it. All beings, whether PCs, NPCs, or monsters, adhere to one of the three philosophies or spheres of behavior known as alignments. These spheres are law, neutrality, and chaos. A player must choose one of these paths when creating a character. And a lot of other creators who are in the OSR space, so Kelsey Dion, I think she said this. I might be wrong, but I'm fairly sure she's like acknowledged it to some degree, who made Shadow Dark.
Mm-hmm.
They've basically acknowledged that like chaos and law are basic like approximations for what we understand as like being quote unquote good or evil. Like if you tried to redefine what evil is, a lot of people would define it as like being dangerous or something like that, right? And if you don't have like a civilization to then like necessarily stabilize yourself, well, that's more dangerous. Therefore, you could align it also with being more chaotic in that regard.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's one of the issues that we have. But as far as
orcs did have a type of civilization. They live in villages.
A type of civilization, but in terms
That's
of like...
why they're also neutral, not just chaotic.
Sure, that can be that. I think...
And also... Yes, finish your thought.
I think probably giving to like the idea of like an entire... like a general entire like what we're going to call like a fantasy species / race, whatever. I think it's only fair to imagine that there probably was just simply the concept there are evil things out there. Like we do, there's a really good YouTuber who does D&D, who did a D&D analysis called Legal Kimchi. He made this analysis about like Warhammer in terms of like the what is it, the Tyranids or the Xenomorphs from Alien or the Terminator robots, right? These are all just evil. Like for basic understanding, they're just quote unquote evil, right?
Yeah.
I think that concept probably plays a part in terms of like creating other fantasy genres as well, and I don't see a reason why
again, orcs were created to be a antagonist to the character, an enemy to the character, an obstacle, if you will, to the player character. The player character was supposed to overcome the orcs. The orcs, again, were the enemy, and every
but
module
it's
that they
all
appear that I can think of, right? They were the antagonist. Now you could perhaps ally yourself with them on time to time, right? There was options for that, and a good DM would allow
well.
those such things. But the idea of
Let you
them
finish.
being very brutish, being very dangerous, I guess is a good word, evil, for lack of a better term, was established very early on, and it carried out through the other editions until more recent editions have tried to move away from intrinsic racial characteristics, not just when it comes to morality, but when it comes to even stats and other things. D&D has largely moved away. So my whole argument here, right, is that
Mhm.
D&D of today has moved away from the original spirit, right, of what it meant to be different races, what it meant to be even different alignments. And I think that the modern editions of D&D have made the game less interesting, at least to me, because it does take away the intrinsically evil nature of certain species, such as the orcs.
So can I respond to
Of
all of
course you
this?
can.
All right. So my
ahead.
response is that yes, orcs were supposed to be the antagonists to the player, but also more than just that. They were also supposed to be player characters. And from the very, very beginning, from the very first edition, you have described them as tribal race, that there are intertribal conflicts. So it's all setting based. You can very well have orcs because I guess I have a question for you. Can elves become paladins? Can dwarves become paladins?
In the older editions, it was human paladins, I believe.
Yeah, it was a human
Mm-hmm.
specific role. So we
Yeah.
cannot say based on that that dwarves are therefore evil because they're not good enough to be paladins, right?
No, but
Or
we
that
have
elves are evil
specific examples
because
we have specific examples of them being good in the lore, and we have that in the old modules, right? As well as later
well, we
editions
have we
for a
have
while.
example of them being good in here in the
Orcs,
handbook, the humanoid handbook that I've just
mm.
shown,
Again,
right?
they use
A
words
few
like
orcs can even
honorable, but it
attempt
doesn't
to
use good.
reject their evil natures in order to try to
Yes,
become
their evil
honorable
natures would be
warriors.
the key frame there. They try to reject their
And
evil nature, yes, because their
yeah,
nature
but
is
the evil
evil.
nature is described as more societal because once they are good, they are shunned by their society.
It doesn't say that
Same
they
with
turn
the
good. It
women
says they
orcs.
try to mimic honor. It tries to mimic
Well, it doesn't
honorable
say that
fighting, but
they
that's
try
not
to
good
mimic it.
necessarily.
It says that they become, not that they just mimic it while being secretly evil.
We just have a fundamental disagreement on what that means.
On what means?
On what the
After
concept
all,
of being honorable means. I don't think it
from the
necessarily
very
means good.
beginning, orcs fell under chaotic as well as neutral, which automatically excludes them from just being intrinsically evil.
Again, evil and good weren't weren't options. There was no good races either in the original D&D from that
Yeah,
definition, right? There was
because those
nothing.
things
There was
were
no.
just as
You
was
couldn't
implied
be
that the
good.
chaotic,
Again,
dangerous, aka
assuming
evil, just like was
right.
explained by our esteemed guest that is here. No, do you disagree with that?
Esteemed guest, go ahead.
You gotta throw it to me all of a sudden.
I mean, she
Yeah.
asked you.
True. I appreciate it, and thank you for the question, or I guess the throwing it back to me. I suppose one of the things that I always get kind of I don't know launched in whenever we have these conversations, especially whenever it's like anything during like overlapping with culture war issues or whatever that stuff is. The thing is that I like to keep an open mind for multiple different things. So on the one hand, I think I brought up the previous point to entertain the idea that there is the possibility that they were thinking just make it an evil species, race, heritage, ancestry, whatever you want. On the flip side of that, if I try to steel man what you're saying in this case, though, the fact is that it isn't the clearest transition from saying law and chaos to what we're trying to say good and evil, because they may very well just be their own categories separate of each other and not necessarily equivalent to each other, right? So I can guarantee, I don't mind saying that there is some kind of like wiggle room there. But if we had to kind of just give like a guess, especially like from how most of them are like depicted in like the lore, I wouldn't really then peg them as then being the quickest of allies of humans. I'd put it that way. If
Yeah.
we're playing like in the AD&D, like BX,
But I would
White
not
Box setting,
peg them as intrinsically evil either.
I guess
Hold on. If you come up, if you are playing a game of OD&D, right, of AD&D, right, and you come
AD&D or D&D?
AD&D, let's say that, and you come across,
Okay.
you come across a band of orcs. What do you think their reaction is going to be to come across the player characters? Do you think it's going to be positive or negative? Just again, assuming they've never met each other before, right? They just coming on to each other. No reputations, right? You don't have an evil reputation or a good reputation. They just come across a band of adventurers. What do you think the orcs are most likely to do? Do you think they're most likely to attack them, or most likely, right, to try to parlay, most likely to make peace? What is the most likely scenario to occur in that setting?
I think it depends. I don't think there's a clear answer. I think it's setting based.
No, I think
it
that
also depends on. I think it also depends on who the adventurers are. What if all the adventurers are orc players?
It's so funny.
That's possible. You can have a group made of only orc players. What then?
I suppose.
Wick, I was totally with you, like all the way up till the very end until I got to that last part, and when I heard it depends, like the hyper pedantic part of me was just like, oh god, it kind of does. And so here's what I mean by that. If you go into like the dungeon, and what I mean by this, and this might be wrong because again, I don't have the D&D manual. What I have is an OSR product, Old School Essentials, about the BX rules, right? The thing that you can find in here is that if I find it, and if not, you know what, it might be in the fantasy rules. One of the rules is that you can roll for monster reactions as random. So that's very, I know it's pedantic, but
even in even in those random tables, they have probabilities. So my point here isn't to say there aren't edge cases where they wouldn't kill on sight,
right?
Because there are, and we can imagine them, right? We can elicit, whether it be a random reaction roll, whether they have garnered a reputation for being friends of orcs, right? We can imagine scenarios where that would be the case. But I'm saying, all else being equal, the most likely occurrence, if a party of adventurers runs into a party of orcs, deadly conflict will then ensue. That is by far the most likely event to occur in any edition of D&D.
I think it depends on the group. I think it depends on the setting. I don't think it's an automatic conclusion.
Well, here's a question, because I actually don't know the answer to this, but I'm willing to take a probability guess on this. If you had to guess, like, the depiction of orcs in most of the AD&D adventures, do you think that they've been depicted more as evil, like whatever we would call evil, whatever that's going to be, right? Or more as good?
Depends on which setting, which system, like Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, etc. You had many different types of orcs in these.
Sure.
And some of them were depicted perfectly as good.
Okay, my initial instinct, and I could be wrong about this because I've not read every AD&D module, right? It's just that I'm fairly sure that they've been depicted as something potentially dangerous.
There are modules, there are systems in which orcs are depicted as good, brave, and honorable, and there are these human knights that invade them and try to enslave them and kill them, basically based on US history. That's a thing.
Like, what modules are you thinking of?
Oh gosh, I have to look to my encyclopedia of knowledge. One moment, okay?
Okay, sure. And just to the credit, it may be out there, right? I'm not, like I said, I don't know all the AD&D modules.
By the way, because if we're not just limiting ourselves to Forgotten Realms, then yeah, absolutely there are things in which orcs are depicted as good, and it doesn't violate.
We'll go with
any...
Greyhawk. We'll go with any official setting. Now, you can absolutely find unofficial settings, and I'm sure there are tons, where at a specific table, they played differently. And I've done that. I have, crazily enough, had my own lore and just ignored the official Dungeons & Dragons lore because I can do it better, and I can. And that's fair. But my argument is what the official lore was and what it's turning into, and the differences between those things.
Just for clarification, I'm going to look for the dungeon rules, but I went for the orc definition in this one, Old School Essentials. What they depicted as is ugly, bad-tempered, animalistic humanoids who live underground and are active at night. Sadistic bullies who hate living creatures and delight in killing. And their alignment is chaotic from that point. From this depiction of, and this is an OSR book, granted, it's not AD&D, but they try to revitalize the theme, the general trajectory of what D&D was supposed to be, but just simply streamline it for people in the modern era to play it. That sounds pretty evil to me, in my opinion.
But the fact that you can have player characters playing as the orcs, and they can be
Players can
not
be evil.
Yeah, but they cannot be evil. That the handbook allows
They
for
didn't
that.
have, again, in that handbook, they didn't have evil as an option. They didn't have good as an
Yeah, but
option. You
it
could
clearly
be
says that some orcs can achieve the equivalent of a holy warrior, of the holy warriors.
you can be evil and unholy as well, right? Like these aren't
Well,
what's the
no,
word?
because they
Mutually
want,
exclusive. That's it. Thank you.
because they want to reject the ways of their people, which points to it being societal rather than intrinsic.
But they can't get rid of their nature, right?
Well, it clearly says that they can.
Okay, they can try to overcome it.
Yeah, and they
That can
do.
create tension and conflict. But again, in the rules, in the lore, in the modules,
Oh,
the
this is part
nature
of the rules. This is part of the
orcs,
lore.
the nature of orcs, the baseline nature of orcs are evil. They just are.
I'll say this to at least strengthen the pushback on their evil.
Okay.
For this, something tangential, not orcs necessarily, because drow come up from time to time, right? And I can't. It's not my research on this. It's AJ Pickett. Highly recommend him. He's great. He does like monster lore deep dives on all the editions of like D&D creatures, just like Mr. Rex does. Highly recommend him. AJ Pickett does. He was in this conversation with Mr. Rex and somebody else. I forget who, but it was about basically drow nature, and then I think also talking about 4E to some extent at the very beginning. And according to him, I don't remember what he cited, but the whole idea was drow also have this kind of inherent evil to their nature. But apparently, in his research, he said that there's a technicality about that makes it not a permanent feature. That there is some kind of flexibility. He implies that there's some kind of flexibility that doesn't make it intrinsic as we would understand it, like a biological fact, you know.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
So he, so there is that for whatever that's worth. I can't quote the source that he's quoting, but he's usually a trusted source.
I would agree with that.
I don't know enough about the drow specifically. I know what I read in the Drizzt books, right?
Yeah,
you read them?
Yeah, I read them.
When I was a kid, I loved them, right?
Awesome.
You had your 2 swords, your scimitars, right? You had your panther pet, and
which all crumbled to dust when you left the underground. But
it was pretty fun. But orcs are a different story, right? Orcs are, again, more animalistic than drow ever have been depicted. Drow were a more
animalistic does not necessarily mean evil. Keep in mind.
That is true. but combined with all the other information we have surrounding the orcs, how they were used in the lore, how they were antagonistic by default, right? How they were as a society, right? Intrinsically evil by nature, and how again even their own natures they would have to struggle to be not evil.
But
Here's an
all those traits are applicable to the drow while we're getting on the drow train.
No.
Yeah.
Drow, at least Drizzt, was never evil, right? He was
Yeah, but
always, even from
the
his
race
birth,
overall
right?
is
Or not maybe
depicted
from
as
his
you
birth,
with the
right? But from a
traits
young
as you
age.
depict them. They're always antagonistic. They kidnap people of all races as slaves. They treat it as the intrinsic nature. They worship an evil god, and it's all there.
No, so the difference is this. It's the difference between
The
having
only
anger
difference is the
issues,
animalistic
okay, and trying to overcome your
nature.
anger issues versus living in a society that rewards anger
Yeah,
and
but
try to
having
overcome
anger
that.
issues does
There's a
not mean that you are
fundamentally difference.
intrinsically angry.
I'm using this as an example to demonstrate the example, at least my
I
argument,
have to be
for the difference
specific
between
in this
orc and
heated
drow societies.
and angry debate. Isn't that right, our esteemed guest?
Oh, I
have to be
appreciate the
we have to
title
be
of this team.
highly
I feel
highly
like so
specific.
honored just being here. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of ping-ponging between both of you guys just for the sake of conversation. Like I said, I like to entertain all the ideas on this just because, I don't know. To me, the idea of closing off the possibility of an evil, like species, race, heritage, whatever, that seems like you're limiting your creativity. But at the same time, if you insist on having orcs evil, 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 that is also inherently limiting as well. So I like to be able to follow where a good story takes it. You know, that's
Is to
it.
me personally what the first iteration indicates, and what the later seem to confirm, that orcs are multi-tribal. Later, it was added that they were sort of a nomad type of race, that they were nomadic, which actually pays pretty well into, I think the newest thing that we were seeing at the beginning breaks that pretty well.
The
the
art
nomadic
of them
nature.
crossing the Alamo, or crossing the Rio Grande to get to the Alamo, right? And
Yeah.
take back, right?
There were many
the
different types of
Mexit
orc
orcs. I don't know,
tribes,
it's
and
so
they
weird.
have they have conflict
He had like
with one
a
another.
pencil mustache and like a sombrero. What I don't like. It was really bad. But
Well, the art that you showed at the beginning was, in my opinion, not that bad. It just depicts a nomadic nature of a specific tribe.
okay, I mean,
And I think that you can have this type of tribe, and you can also have the typical
you
earlier
could.
depicted type of tribe.
Obviously,
And
you
they are
can,
in
and they've
conflict with one
decided to do
another.
that. They've decided to the
I
official
mean, they
D&D has
were
decided to go that direction. I just disagree
they
with
could
that
be
direction.
neutral, or even attempt to be good from the very onset.
Okay.
And you had the description of many different tribes that live different styles and can fight one another.
I feel like I feel like I do have to back up the potential evil background a little bit now. So two different sources, or at least two different references that I'm
All
going to
right.
make. Mr. Rex, he did this fantastic deep dive on orcs. Mr. Rex, 2 X's, highly recommend him. He talked about how orcs have been different in the past. Like when we just looked it up in I think that was was that the whiteback? No, that was the AD&D rule, I think. We saw that they were porcine orcs. They had pig-like features. Those have changed over time. But the thing is that what apparently has changed in the lore is 2 things. There are 2 different types of orcs. There are orcs that live in the mountains to the north. And then there are orcs, and this is Forgotten Realms lore, just to be clear.
Yeah.
And there are orcs that are like, I think from a different portal, or from a different like realm of existence where orcs are. Basically almost like Warcraft lore, right? So
Right.
when we see orcs in like 5th ed books, and we see like Greenskin, basically the Hulk, right?
Right.
We see that come out. Those orcs are supposedly, according to like all the vast lore that exists within Forgotten Realms, 2 different groups. One is more evil, from what we would describe as being evil, than the other.
Right.
Like the other orcs that the other orcs that like came from the out of the portal, from my understanding. They have ritualistic, tribal traditions, all this stuff going with it, right? They can be dangerous and they can be like evil just as much, right? But there's not this reputation that they've had from like what people have known of orcs. That's the first thing. The second thing that I wanted to mention went along with the lines of, something else. Again, I'll reference people in this case. Professor Dungeon Master of Dungeon Craft mentioned this. He mentioned how another tangent in this case, a tangential heritage, species, race, etc., is the Dragonborn, or the dragons themselves. I don't know if they were called Lizardkin or Dragonkin or something like that, or Dragon people. But from my understanding, from what he said, in the AD&D lore, you can't play them because what they're usually depicted as is dangerous or evil in that case. Now, I don't know if like that's supposed to mean that all Dragonborn are evil, but that should say something in terms of like what the general vibe is, right?
I can't speak to dragons either, but chromatic dragons are traditionally, like, you have the red evil, black evil. Then you have the metallic dragons. They're traditionally good. The gold good, bronze good, right? And so there is this divide there. Intrinsic racial good and intrinsic racial evil has been with us in D&D lore for a long, long time. I think it just does my closing argument here, because I do have to go, is that I think it
I
does
won this debate.
Fair enough, you can think that. But you can see that having intrinsic racial qualities makes for better storytelling and better gameplay, in my opinion. I think that having limitations does not restrict creativity, but helps it to flourish. The best designs are not just an open sandbox, right? But ones which you play within a set of variables, a set of conditions in which you can use to help create an interesting scenario in a game. And I think that orcs having intrinsically an evil nature has a lot of potential. And I don't like that they've taken away a lot of these options, right? A lot of these ability to have, at least in the official lore, an intrinsically evil race to fight. There still exists somewhat with demons, devils, etc. But I do worry for the state of the game and worry for the state of the lore in moving away from that kind of thing. That's my closing argument. What's yours, Lucy? And then tell people where they can find you, and then we'll end the stream.
So my closing argument is that D&D as a thing, because we're talking about settings, and D&D is a rule set. And as a rule set, it just allows people to create many different settings in which basically you can make the orgs however you want within these rules. And there are settings within D&D in which orcs are not evil at all. They're just good. And I would say that even within the first editions, let's say, orcs were giving enough flexibility to not just be intrinsically evil, but I would say the neutrality opened the room, and the description of different tribes that fight one another, the description of playable orcs as being able to take up a path of honorable fighting, of being different than their brethren. To me, that opens a road to different types of orcs that are not just intrinsically evil. And I think that enriches the world. I think that it makes for better stories, for having characters that are orcs that have dilemmas. They are supposedly like us, but they're so different. This tribe is so different from that tribe, and that's what creates this clash, this conflict between them. That is my closing statement. Also, I think I won this debate, this heated, bloody sports debate.
If you say so. $5 from.
Also,
where can people find you? Yes, where can people find you if they want to celebrate your victory?
LucyHaze.org/live is my page. Also, I'd like to have another conversation with the esteemed guest about this topic
By all means,
with
I won't stop you.
specific
Oh, sure.
settings.
But I will say, right, that her link to her Twitter is in my YouTube description if you like what she had to say. If you'd like to see more of what she has to do, click on that link and you can find her. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you being willing to have the conversation. $5 from another new account to say, Strahd von Zarovich did nothing wrong. Vampire unlives matter. Thank you for the Strahd reference, and thank you for the $5.
I appreciate that too. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. I
So maybe we'll ask our esteemed guest at the end. Do you think orcs have gone woke?
Do I think? Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Quote,
I will let
unquote.
you guys decide this on your own.
Yeah.
For
you
my
gotta-
audience, if you've liked if you've enjoyed the show, whether it be my takes on the school shooter, whether it be my takes on Luigi, whether it be my D&D takes, right? Hit that like button. That's how you let me know. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Christmas is coming up. If you want to give me some money, you can throw me a super chat or two. That would also help. Tomorrow we're going to be talking to Armand. Let me make sure I get his name right. Armand Domalewski. He's a co-founder of EMBs for Harris. I'm excited to have him on, and we're going to talk about politics, and it'll be fun. Thursday, we're going to have the Maids panel. It should be interesting. And then Friday, I have a guest we're going to talk to as well. Tune in, 6 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.